a stake through the heart will kill a vampire. And it's like, it will kill anybody. If you could just say to some, like, oh yeah, I think I found a vampire. I put a stake through his heart and he died. And it's like, he didn't have to be a vampire for that to work. So the first thing that I wanted to talk to you is actually about the topic of self-fulfilling prophecies. Because, sometimes people make something up and it's really spooky, but then the results of that thing start to come to pass because you've made up the story. And
so this is like what happened to the Slenderman. Got it.
It's kind of like the Slenderman, but before there was Mr. Slenderman, Bob Slenderman.
Slenderman.
You gotta remember Bob Slenderman.
I was more so talking about the fact that Slenderman was a huge creepypasta, and then these teenage girls decided that it would be fun to stab their friends a bunch of times because
for the Slenderman.
Slenderman made us do it.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the girl that got stabbed survived.
Yes, good thing.
But like, gladly. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And so, but before there was a Slenderman, there were a lot of things. Before creepypastas, there were urban legends. I'm gonna tell you about the Goat Man of Popelick. And before you ask, I really don't know why it's called Popelick Creek. I don't know. It sounds like somebody really wanted to lick the Pope. But
weird flex, but all right.
Anyway, so there is a place called Popelick Creek in Louisville. And in this place, there is this big trestle bridge that's very high up in the air. And it's very, we live in New Hampshire and up in the mountains. They have those really, like, tight bridges that go over, like, trestles. This is like that. It's one big straight thing that goes straight up. And it's very imposing. If you were to see pictures of it, you're going to know that. It's a very imposing thing. But there was a legend that came around that there was a goat man that lived under this bridge. And pictures of the goat man that they use mostly make him look like a satyr. It's kind of like the head of a goat, but kind of like more of the body of a man and maybe some claws. Very...
It's like a Satan living up there. It's all cool.
It's very much the goat that you would see on Satanist kind of things. It's that. But the idea is that the goat man would lure people out onto the bridge and then kill them. And the thing about it is that there's a lot of differentiation in how that works. Like, does the goat man kill you, or is it that he lures you off of the bridge? Stories change over the course of time, but generally, goat man lures you out onto this big trestle bridge where there's very little space, and then you die somehow, somewhere. Obviously, there's no goat man. We don't really have pictures of goat man. Maybe goats, maybe men, but not goat man. However, back in 2016, a couple from Ohio who are fascinated with this kind of stuff, they go out onto the bridge looking for the goat man. They're out on the bridge. It looks like an old bridge. As far as they can tell, like, they don't think there are trains that go on this bridge, or not very often. So they go out onto the bridge to try and find the goat man. Before they know it, there's a train coming. Apparently,
check your schedules before you go onto train bridges, but all right.
That would be a smart thing to do, but also, apparently, there is a little bit of another legend about you being able to hear the train from, like, a mile away. Apparently not. Apparently did not hear the train until it was pretty close to them. And, what happens is the guy is like, we gotta, like, try to grab on to, like, the trestles at the edge. Like, we gotta grab on and hang off for dear life. The girlfriend, though, who really was the one that's the thrill seeker, does not apparently get that, does not get that memo. And ultimately gets hit by the train and dies.
Okay.
So,
I honestly thought this was going in the direction of these two thrill seekers and paranormal kind of hunters go up onto a train bridge and someone decides to push the other one going, oh no, it's the goat man. Thought there was going to be a murder, honestly.
No. The boyfriend survives by hanging off the side of the trestle, but girlfriend is not able to do that in time, gets hit by the train, and dies. And the people that were in the train, like the conductors, are trying to stop the train because they can see the people on the track, but it is not soon enough. They don't have the ability.
Trains don't slow down fast.
It takes a long time.
Depends on the train. Yeah.
But anyway, apparently a pretty big one. The self-fulfilling prophecy is literally, well, the goat man is going to lure people out onto the bridge to kill them. And even though there's no goat man, people got lured out onto the bridge looking for the goat man. And then someone died from the train. I find this kind of fascinating. You mentioned the Slenderman thing before.
That was being silly, but yeah.
Yeah, but John Slenderman.
Bob
Slenderman. That's right. I forgot his first name. His brother is John Slenderman. But this is the kind of thing that I find both dangerous, but also kind of fascinating, because we create these stories, and then the stories start to take on a life of their own over the course of time. The reason why I wanted to bring this up in terms of storytelling is that I think that there's a place to create like an urban legend that then ends up having something real that happens out of it, even though it turns out that the urban legend is not real.
So, like, instead of creating a actual, like, paranormal story, like in a game, you'd have an urban legend that is obviously not meant to be real from the start, but it is told in such a way like this one, where the people that go out for looking for this has a chance of still happening.
Right. People get lost in this cave. You know, there's a cave, and no one ever comes out of the cave, and there must be a monster in the cave that's taking people into the cave. So you have people that go in there looking for the monster because they want to hunt the monster. They kill the monster. But then they never come out of the cave. And it's just because it's a cave, and you can die in caves.
Sure, absolutely.
In many, many ways.
Caves are way bigger than you expect them to be.
And so the cave ends up being the exact thing that you're trying to avoid. The cave itself ends up becoming the monster, even though there isn't a monster there. And it just adds to the legend of the monster. So, I think it'd be interesting to have like a story that's about that. Your adventurers come into a town, and they've heard a local legend about this thing, but then it starts to turn out that the townspeople are creating the legend by their own actions.
And it'd be fun because you could have if it's a D&D game, you could have your party go out if they decide to investigate this thing. Right. And they could find out that, no, this isn't real. They could debunk it. Or perhaps they could find out that it's true.
Yes.
Like, you could go either way. They could end up being like, no, it's not true. People just kept coming out here because there was a story about people coming out here getting lost, and they kept getting lost because they're idiots. The only people that got lost were town beggars and people that were drunk. It's like the story of the smiley face killers, if you've heard that one.
Oh, no.
It's this pseudo-conspiracy theory, I want to say, where it's like, oh yeah, these young, like, well-off, college-age white males are getting murdered in places, and every time they find their bodies, there's a smiley face, either graffitied or a sticker or something nearby. And it's like, okay, well, that's correlation, not causation. It's not that there's a cult of smiley face killers necessarily. It's that smiley face is like one of the most popular things for people to graffiti tag, or to spray paint, or to have stickers if it's just a very popular design. So it's like, okay, well, this is not necessarily a thing, but we don't have the evidence to really debunk it either.
Right.
If you look it up on YouTube, there are videos and videos and videos about the smiley face killers. So that is an example, the real world thing. These people may just end up washing up bridges where your body is likely to get stuck if you are, in the river, dead, just found near where there happens to be a smiley face also painted somewhere.
And I'm sure there are a lot of other real-world examples, and probably a lot of urban legends are based on something that happens that they need to try and explain. And some are probably just to scare the crap out of kids, mostly. The hook-handed killer,
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
I know what you did last summer.
On a larger scale, vampires and werewolves, there's legends about, like, well, how did somebody get ripped apart? And, obviously it would probably be like a wild animal, but they have to make up the werewolf as a thing. People that have had the blood taken out of them or seem ensanguinated, we come up with a story about them. And then people go on these hunts to, like, find the vampires and find the werewolves. Sort of like the whole thing about, like, stake through the heart. I think about that often. It's like, a stake through the heart will kill a vampire, and it's like, it will kill anybody. If you could just say to some, like, oh yeah, I think I found a vampire, I put a stake through his heart, and he died, and it's like, he didn't have to be a vampire for that to work. The interesting thing is, when you get into those kinds of panics, the real monsters do
Friends
become,
you made
like,
along the way?
the real monsters are the friends you made along the way, which is why the monsters happened. But also that the real terror is from the paranoia of the people that are in that town. And that ends up being the real plague that you need to deal with, is the paranoia there, because it's very corrosive. So you can come across a town that's already deeply enthralled with that paranoia. And you have to figure out, like, why. And what was the story that led to this? And why did people actually die in the process? In our next segment, we're going to actually be talking more about the actual, like, investigation kind of part to it. But I think that it's interesting when you have a story that is cyclical like this. You make up a story, people believe the story, people investigate the story, people get taken by the story, and then it just adds to the story that was originally created. And it's an interesting story structure. I don't know if it's a positive one. I doubt there's a positive action to this that you could take, but you could use it. But don't make it a goat man.
Don't make it a goat man. Make it a dog man. His own best friend.
Yeah. Is there has there been a cat man? Has there been a cat man?
Yeah, but the movie got canceled.
That's a creepypasta in itself. 2019 cats.
Anyways.
Ooh. Anyway, do you have a self-fulfilling prophecy that you think would end up being a really good story for your adventure? You let us know in the comments down below.
Here's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you like this video, the more likes this video will have.
It's true. If you leave comments down below, it's more likely that there will be comments beyond the comment. The algorithm is the self-fulfilling prophecy.
Kind of is.
Think about that for a minute next time you're watching YouTube.